Let's talk about Top Gun. You know, the Tom Cruise movie about planes. I recently watched it for the first time as an adult, having not seen it since I was a kid. I knew what to expect. Top Gun is a pulp culture icon, living on in countless influences, spoofs, and references over the last 35 years. What I wasn't expecting was how fast and loose the script is. It's not a bad script by any means, certainly for something that was work for hire and no doubt turned around on a tight deadline. The movie runs through its plot with reckless abandon. Characters are introduced quickly and broadly, fitting neatly into existing tropes. Setbacks are temporary, with the main character nearly always getting what they want, and consequences rarely having any impact for long. This fast pace helps the movie cover a lot of ground, managing to squeeze in a lot of story for less than a 2-hour runtime. We get Maverick's cavalier attitude, his relationship with Goose, his daddy issues, his romantic subplot from start to finish, the whole school competition and rivalry with Iceman, and of course the grief, quit, get back on the saddle story of the third act. The movie fits in way more than it has to, but all of that squeezing comes at a price. Because Top Gun is trying to do so much, and it's trying to do it at roughly 7 million miles per hour, the beats often don't have time to land as effectively as they could. We jump from sequence to sequence and beat to beat at a steady rhythm that leaves little time for reflection. It's motorcycle sequence 1 minute, aerial combat the next, only to jump to a very awkward tongue-based sex scene. Seriously, what was the direction here? Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to drag Top Gun through the mud. The movie is a classic, certainly one beloved by American audiences. Plus that soundtrack rules. True, it's mostly that one song, but when that song is Danger Zone, what more do you need? But the speed robs many of the beats of their impact. It makes them feel thin, unrealistic. It feels juvenile. And that's when I realized that while the movie centers around the military and American exceptionalism, I think there's a deeper theme to the movie, one that makes the whole thing click into place. Top Gun is a movie about a 13-year-old's idea of adulthood. It's a movie about, and more importantly, for adolescence. When you start to think about the movie that way, all those criticisms, all those issues with the plot and characters kind of melts away, leaving behind a surprisingly smart, if a bit dumb, movie. The riding a motorcycle in a bomber jacket, hitting on your teacher, rivalry with the local jocks, the international crisis is never explained, and the bad guys are no more than faceless dudes in cool helmets. Hell, the whole movie uses a school as its framing device. Even the film's central crux, the grief of losing Goose, is viewed through the eyes of a teenager. One friend losing another, getting comforted by the grieving widow, and having to learn to get back on the saddle, where he isn't blamed for Goose's death or has to face really any responsibility over what happened, but instead learns acceptance and gains closure by holding on to a memento and staring angstily out into a sunset. Real grief is a complicated, long process, but this movie boils it down to a younger understanding, a simplified, romantic version. This may sound like criticism, and I guess on some level it is, but I don't want you to mistake that for me not liking the film. Honestly, I'm more impressed by it than anything, because for this film, that adolescence is effectively its genre. It's like a YA movie or a school-based anime, complete with a beach episode. It uses adult tropes and symbolism to tell a story that at its core is about growing up. I think as writers, a lot of the time we worry about crafting the perfect story, on making sure every punch lands to the maximum ability. And while that certainly is a worthy goal, what we can lose sight of is the bigger picture. Top Gun is far from a perfect movie, far from a perfect script, but its perspective and adherence to its overall goals turns those drawbacks into a benefit. That adolescent viewpoint isn't a weakness, it's a strength. It focuses on its core tenets of cool guys doing cool things in cool planes while hitting on cool chicks. It's a 13-year-old's idea of adulthood, but that's all it's ever trying to be, all it ever needs to be. And in an era of grimdark, down-tempo trailers and washed-out color palettes, maybe we could use some more of that. I'm Michael Aguero. Thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, you can help by telling a friend about us. We're still a relatively new channel trying to find our footing, and every new viewer helps. If you want to go even farther in your support, consider picking up one of my stories on Amazon Kindle or Google Play. Every little bit helps. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.